the stage, we have brought in Captain Glenn Corcoran, please.
Good evening. To those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the instructors here for a time, and it's been a great pleasure. Well, probably one of the reasons they chose me is I'm one of the ones that was gullible enough to actually stand up and talk about these guys, but I did actually fly with all three of them. Thankfully not at the same time. Anyway, honourable captains, ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for you to suffer my bit. But not as much as these three guys are about to suffer my bit. So to all you people watching it on Facebook or YouTube, I suggest close that little box on the right hand corner now, because it's really not as funny as they're telling you it was. So this is traditional at FTE, this is the alternative presentation, this is what we do just after we've had a few drinks and to let our hair down a little bit. Alternative presentation to give a little bit more depth. Now we've had some wine and some excellent food. Excellent. Anyway, so don't interrupt, we've got to get on, because Rowan hates lateness and gets very angry if someone's late, especially if they're late for a flight. Who's your father? Now, I've never been to Lebanon, but since I've been at FT, I've been very used to Lebanese coming to me. I seem to have a number of Lebanese students. Now, with a mission to make airline staff out of these guys, I worked quite hard on their appearance, as you think would. And previously with Carl Stefan and Adnan Deer, I worked really hard on them. Finally, I got victory. After Christmas, they even came back with shirts that fitted, and they were able to do their top buttons up. Victory! Then, I was given Mazen, Rabbi, and my apologies, but since we really do, or I've certainly nicknamed everyone I've seen from Lebanon as Scruff Airlines. One look at Hussein told me that I was not going to win. I persevered, I worked hard. In the end, finally, I got his uniform tidied up. And then he discovered facial hair. Now, for those of you that perhaps don't know the West quite so well, in Western society, the majority of intelligent people study to be captains of industry, lawyers, accountants. A few people drop out and become surfers or lead an alternative lifestyle or just become unemployed. In Lebanon, intelligent people become doctors or lawyers or even biomedical engineering students. A few people drop out and they immediately drop everything, come to FTE and become airline pilots. However, they do stick together, especially at FTE. Now, I was looking at the Arabic word, I think it's marfud, which means rejected. And apparently, according to Wikipedia, so it must be right, it's a word which the Sicilians then used to become the word mafia. I'm not sure it's in Wikipedia. But forgive me, I would not be the first person in either flying or with my learned friends in ground school to use the term mafia and Lebanese in the same sentence. Indeed, my report, sir, received from the ground school department summed it up as follows. The three of them worked as a small cabal at the back of the classroom. They were the Lebanese mafia in action. Indeed, they were well organised. How did they know the answers to the pre-navigation flight test questions, which even we as instructors struggled with? Just to illustrate the point, one of my other students, who wished not to be named tonight, stated in her Italian-German accent while sitting in her golf cabriolet. when I was goading her gently into taking her test, I said, well, have you studied enough? And she sort of responded, well, yeah, so I've done some study, but I'm not ready yet. I haven't seen the Lebanese guys. So, moving on to the individuals we've got, and first of all, Rawad. Well, already, he has beaten me. I'm supposed to embarrass him with something funny and make him look a fool in front of all his friends. He's beaten me, hands down. How has he done it? He posts on Facebook on his main page this shockingly bad photo of him trying to be Tom Cruise with 1980s shades on. Well, how could I beat that? Of course, he couldn't get Kelly McGillis, so he had to make do with Mazin on one side and someone that looks like Ringo Starr on the other side. So I needed to fight back. I needed to say, so right, I'll get his CV. Right, so let's read his CV. Birthday, 11th of September, 1990. Right? He was the most intelligent biomedical engineering student at his university. He is a master at Taekwondo, martial arts skills inherited from a long bloodline of Taekwondo masters. He often threatens to use those skills when very angry or drunk, or actually most commonly both. What it doesn't say on the CV is the word modesty. Apparently, he does try and hide his outstanding performance in education, but fails and fails on every occasion. It just slips out, much to the irritation of many of his friends. So you speak to them, and of course they're very tight-lipped about it. Not at all. What it doesn't say is he actually has been doing Taekwondo of 1 year, and he is a white belt. And the long bloodline is, well, his dad does it apparently. So, okay, there may be some inaccuracies here. I can't vouch for, Tarek. Actually, no, it's not Charles. I just Tarek's an easy target. But okay, so perhaps that's not the full picture. Let's go back to his CV. And well, nowadays most people were talking about the Facebook CV, and you're probably watching this on Facebook now, thinking, when should I turn this off? So on his Facebook CV, we can get a deep insight into his character. We know Rawad. What do you think his two favourite movies are on Facebook? Lion King and American Pie. And even more scary, he stated his favourite football team is the England football team. He even admits to liking Chelsea. Proof, if it were needed, that Rawad therefore knows nothing about football is proved on the FTE football pitch, and you won't be able to deny this. With great enthusiasm, he's known to apply his Taekwondo techniques to kicking a football. The results are random and chaotic. I'm not saying that when he kicks a football, it's likely to go high out of the FTE court, but JEREZ ATC are now forbidden to allow aircraft approaches below 8,000 feet before he takes a free kick. He also has to set 1013 on the ball before kicking it. Sorry, a bit of a joke. Try and translate this to Lebanese later. Socially, he does have apparently a little bit of a habit for getting drunk, but coming from Mazin, that's a bit rich. But not just getting drunk. Apparently, he's quite good at stumbling around, denying that he's drunk, and perhaps the more drunk he gets, the more vehemently he denies it. Perhaps we'll find out later on. He also denies remembering it in the next morning, like he'll deny his previous habit of kissing ugly 17-year-old girls in the Brever nightclub in Jerez. Though he has, in the words of his friends, and this is his friend saying this, really settled down now with a very hot, beautiful girlfriend. You can spot the jealousy in what they're saying. I wish you the best, and I'm sure, and I hope they translate it for you very well, that I'm sure you just haven't read his CV properly yet. And at least you know when he's drunk, because he'll start denying it. Now, I flew with Rawat, and I know that he's one of those people that gets really emotional and takes it very, very seriously. He's someone who's definitely ruled by his heart, not his head. We perhaps have lost count of a few instructors who he may, shall we say, had slight difference in professional perspective on a number of cockpit matters. In fact, I'm reliably told the only reason I've been chosen to do this talk tonight is I'm the only instructor he's still speaking to. For example, when he gets angry with someone, he makes very violent statements, such as, what's it in... which for the rest of us means, tonight I will drink of his blood! Tonight I will drink of his blood! To which, of course, I responded, well, give the poor air traffic controller a chance. He only asked you to give way to traffic on fire. Now, when putting together this, I did have a look at the Blue monthly reports, which is something we as managers have to take from all the instructors to give an update of what's going on. And trust me, I kid you not, this is not an exaggeration. One of his monthly reports from the flying department, and Ian will bear me out on this, described Rawat as having good attitude flying skills. We know exactly what he means. Anyway, well done. I give you Rawat Sasu. Who should we pick on now? Hussein.
Zafir Al-Hassoun.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm British, I need some tea. As you know, I'm a flying instructor from the flying department, but we do have a very, very important ground school department that does a lot of work with these people, helping them through the exams, and Peter will here to bear out that some students... Is that my time up? Some students in ground school struggle with general navigation. Some students struggle to learn meteorology. There's a lot in it. Some really cannot get their head around principles of flight. But what about Hussein? He just struggled with his name. When being given the application forms for the JAR exams, the instructors asked us to make sure that, I'm quoting here, the instructors asked us to make sure our names were typed in correctly because of the administrative errors typing in Arabic names. So when the instructor asked Hussein if he had any problems, Hussein said, and I quote, "I checked my passport and my name is definitely Hussein." Did you really come from there? For all his time in ground school, though, he was always on his BlackBerry, and so I had something constantly with him to tell him what his name was. Funnily enough, I did, and I was going to have it on a big screen. I did see his passport, and if you ever get a chance to see the passport photo, it's pretty amazing. If you ever needed photographic proof, it was possible for Lebanese people to grow giant afro hairstyles, and Hussein in his passport photo proved it. It may not have been him, but... Oh no, it must have been him, because it had the name Hussein on it. I'm reliably told, though, which I didn't know until a short while ago when I started looking at this, that he had a double life outside aviation as a barber. This creative itch grew and grew and grew. And who better to test his new barber skills on than Mazen and his spiky haircut. So Mazen, being Mazen, freely agreed to a Hussein haircut, stating that he only wanted a slight trim, a little bit off the top. And Hussein started and did really well, and started enjoying himself. So he carried on, and this was fun, so he took some more and some more. And eventually Mazen looked in the mirror to find his spike had gone the way of Rawad's NDB approach on his one. He was scalped. It's expected to get back to its original length, though, however, by 2032. But funnily enough, Hussein has never been asked by any human being, living or dead, to go near their hair ever since. Surprisingly, since Hussein is convinced too that Napoli is a football club situated in France. I'm surprised any living human being, ever living or dead, has asked him to navigate in any of their aircraft. So, after all that, you may well be surprised to know that Hussein actually did some flying in his time here. The monthly blue reports I referred to had a section which asked about student preparation, timekeeping, and appearance. Most students were awarded a 1 or 2 for very, very good or exceptional. Hussein, on one report, was described as being, remember his preparation, timekeeping, appearance, prepared and on time, and was only awarded a 3. What was the instructor trying to say? Mr. Razor and Mr. Top Button are not the best of friends of Mr. Tabigan. But perhaps the greatest adversary of Mr. Hussein Tabigan was the awesome frasca. For those of you that don't know the frasca, it's an indoor aircraft cockpit where you can fly and go through instrument procedures and fly this indoor aircraft without a bit like a computer game, but much more technical. But it's
called a simulator.
Simulator. I was trying to avoid, because all these people know Microsoft Flight Simulators, I was trying to avoid that. Frasca. Hussein took the inability to grasp the dear frasca to levels hitherto unimagined at FTE. In fact, drug addicts, bored of ecstasy and LSD, queued for hours to join Hussein in the numerous frasca sessions so they could reach new heights of consciousness, staring at the flight instruments spinning around all over the place for hours, while Hussein tried forlornly to maintain straight and level flight. Hussein's excuse later, when we spoke, was that he was trying to dodge Rawad's free kicks. However, he did sort it out. He worked long hours, he worked hard. Well, let's face it, he wasn't wasting his time with excessive shaving or ironing. And apparently, sometimes he even flew in the correct aircraft. Until eventually, after much study, hard graft and bullying, the check cleared, and to his credit, on flight 73, he was awarded a 1, which is how we grade outstanding for flying. So, however, that was history, and he moved on to his Seneca training, getting a CPL and IR without again emulating that elusive 1 performance. Well done for it. Of course, he had an excuse because with Mazen waking him at 1 in the morning quite regularly to talk to him about his girlfriend was bound to go wrong. But well done, I give you Hussein Tabigan. So this is the information that I had on Rawad, and this is the information I had on Hussein. And this is the information that I got. Mazen, certainly the class clown, or the clown, certainly everyone knew what was going on when Mazen was around, and life was never dull or never boring.
Stand in the corner.
Mazen often gave this expression that he was asleep or not taking it in. But he was actually conscious in a sort of Mazen sort of way, and taking it all in. Now that doesn't mean he was actually getting it right. In radio training, most people realise that if you need to call for a mayday, it was mayday, mayday, mayday. We've all seen the films. Well, if it's an urgency call, but not an emergency, you say something which is pan, 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 pan. Well, Mazen, not being too clued up with radio training, but able to apply basic mathematics to his training, then launches into his training mayday call, putting them both together and coming up with mayday, 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 mayday. But Mazen has a good, inquiring mind. And he's not afraid, is he, Peter, to pit his intelligence against professional, industry-trained individuals where they've gained this information over many, many years. For example, his ground school instructor, and Trevor specifically didn't want to be mentioned tonight, commented, Mazen was determined to show that his method of calculation was superior to his recommended book method. This largely involved working out in his head using a simple calculation. This worked admirably. Until the problem naturally became more complex and more complex, whereupon his house of cards tottered and then collapsed, leaving his method in complete tatters. Mazen was forced to grudgingly accept that the recommended method was perhaps in extremis to be tolerated long enough just to get him through his jars. However, was he put off? Was he daunted? Well, then he escaped the evil clutches of ground school and escaped into the wondrous freedom of flight with an instructor who I won't name. Don't mention when you read about. But I quote again from the wonderful Blue Reports. You can tell what I do with most of my time is reading Blue Reports. Mazen, with admirable self-belief and initiative, tries to take shortcuts or adapts long-established flight training principles in the mistaken belief that he can do better. This often leads to disaster. Okay, I might have added a little embellishment, as usually the reports have to be quite understated and generally hint at what the instructor really means. Perhaps you can get a feel for it from this one, where you might be able to see what he's hinting. I kid you not, this is a comment, I've not adjusted the choice. Mazen Mouiadine, not enough study revision that is self-initiated. Some may put lazy. An interesting one, and Pete Chambers is not here at the moment, but I will mention it if you don't mind, also commented on one of his later reports, Mazen has a fertile mind. Now Peter, after training these poor guys, has had to take a long holiday to recover in Malta. Now, I'm not sure actually what Pete meant here. Did he actually mean he was continually rewriting the training manual with his own ideas, or did by Mazen has a fertile mind mean his mind was just full of manure? Also, he didn't always fly with instructors. Sometimes he went solo. Now I told you about the Lebanese mafia. Well, they're not against acts of utmost cruelty to themselves either. And one of the more senior members from an earlier course thought it would be funny to brief Mazen how to go about his first solo alone without an instructor. They had a long briefing. Mazen then duly briefed, newly scalped haircut, grabbed aircraft keys, ignored the duty instructor, any paperwork, didn't bother with any flight plans or signing out on the computer, had no authorization whatever, and wandered out to the aircraft to make his first flight alone, blissfully unaware that he'd done anything wrong. Well, he managed to taxi and do his power checks and eventually get lined up on nearly almost lined up on the runway before gently being guided to return to ops by a DI, shocked into total disbelief. And funnily enough, lots of sniggering Lebanese flight students who just happened to be in operations at the time. Of course, as we say with this line of cruelty, Mazen forgave them. No, he didn't. He then decided to get his own back by picking on Hussein and keep talking to him at 1 o'clock in the morning before M4 and flying. Of course, he does have a life outside flying. He eats apricots. And then says, "This mango tastes delicious." His arch nemesis is not the Frasca, not the aircraft, not the Seneca, not the 737. Anyone guess what it is? It's the door on the washing machine. It's the door on the washing machine that he couldn't open. So someone came in, I think it was John? John came in, no problem, opened it first time and walked away. Mazen, rather than being grateful, thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So he shut the door again to reopen it. And would it open? I'm not allowed to say the next bit, but put it this way, I'm just glad that Manolo's not here tonight. But he got the last laugh on it, didn't you? But he has the advantage over other Lebanese gentlemen, even though they get to play tricks on him, that he can speak Spanish. And the others considered that then he'd be able to really hit it off with Spanish girls. And funnily enough, every night they went out. Every night. Boy, did they go out. Mazen went out, so much to local bars, as if you wander around to a bar in Jerez and ask about Mazen, they recognise him, and as soon as he starts walking through the door, they start playing Lebanese dabki music. A traditional dance. So what did you say, Mazen? Well, what did you declare when you went out? What did he say in Arabic? For the rest of us, I will not come back alone tonight. I will not come back alone tonight. And sure enough, that night, and every night, he came back. He did come back alone. Now, we only have a short night, and I've left out Mazen's other solo flight where he got lost and started shouting and begging civil approach for heading to fly back home because he didn't remember how to use the navigation aids. But that's right, I've left that out. Please give me a heading back to Echo. Please give me a heading back to Echo. But funnily enough, this is not a new experience for Mazen, you'll be surprised to know, who actually managed to get lost when he first, not long after he arrived, actually got lost walking on campus. And I had to call a colleague on his mobile phone to come out and rescue him. So with that, it was a good laugh. And wonderful getting this information together, and I've cut it down for what it is. All these three guys have been, it's been a real honour and privilege to be with them, spend time with them in the cockpits and helping out on those things. I really do wish them best for that. But where they're going on to now, where they end up, and I do hope they come back at some stage. And before they come back and respond, because I know Mazen's going to respond, I'd like to propose a toast. So everyone likes to stand up and toast our three graduates tonight. Could you do it in Arabic?
Tamam.
Okay. Right, so thank you very much. If you'd like to be seated. Say thank you. No. Thank you.
Considering that's the worst I've done tonight, could have gone worse. That wasn't that
Okay, I didn't prepare any speech, just now the guys told me to say anything. So I just want to say thank you for the lovely story, but although some wasn't true, but...
Which one? The one you coming back alone?
You missed the story about the trimming. I guess Rawat told you about it.
About the
cruise control in the car. You know, once we were going to Arcos once, and they were teaching me how to do cruise control. I never used it in the car before. So Adnan from behind said, just put this on cruise control and it will maintain speed in the car. It will be trimmed. He just said this word, it will be trimmed. I just remembered my instructor and trimmed that. So I just removed my hand. No, I started to show just it's not the English. So I just want to say thank you all for everything, and really it's been wonderful year, and I really enjoyed it.
Wonderful.
Except for the canteen food, of course. It's really great. Thanks for FTE, thank you Mr. Oscar, thank you Mr. Alandan, and thanks for Captain who came from Lebanon, and thank you for Captain Ian Cheese. Thank you, Captain, and thanks for everybody. Thank you, Peter. And I really enjoyed this year. I speak for three of us when I say we really did enjoy it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tariq, for making special food every day.